Well, yeah. I mean, think about what happened when, you know, Dre and Cube and them were showing up to the Straight Outta Compton, you know, movie sets.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from, you know, obviously the Suge Knight situation where Terry gets killed and Bone gets run over.
Yeah.
Apparently, and I remember Yella talked about this early in the you know, while they were making the film, like someone there was like a drive-by shooting or something like that happened, like near the, you know, near where they were filming. So, yeah, I mean, Dre doesn't go hang out in Compton.
Nah, like, he not supposed to. Like, yeah. For what? The fuck you going to Compton for? It ain't like, I mean, because most of their friends, bro, probably don't even live there no more, like from back in those days. It ain't no reason to be out there. You know what I mean? So, but I'll give them that, bro. I'll give them at the most. And they probably regret it up until this day. You know what I mean? Because the least you can do is see your friend off, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm sure they do regret it to this day.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I remember one of the things that Yella talked about was, you know, when Dre left NWA, he actually invited Yella to go with him, and Yella, like, just never really got back to him.
Yeah.
You know, but in essence, he ended up staying with Eazy. But he didn't want to get involved in the beef to the point where he actually had to mix the real Compton City G's record.
Yeah, he did the hook. He actually came up with the hook, the stump him in his track. Yeah, that's all of his doing. Yeah.
Oh, he didn't say that part.
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
I was there. I saw him come up with it, so.
Right. And, you know, but he said that he really, not that he regretted it, but he just didn't really want to be part of that record because he didn't want to be involved in dissing his homie who was Dr. Dre. You know, I mean, he loved both of those guys. And
right.
in fact,
and
I mean, he started,
I can
he
understand
started
that.
with Dre. You know, before Eazy came around, Dre was his day one guy. Like that's who he was in the World Class Wrecking Crew with, and that's who he produced with. And then Eazy came around later. So, yeah, but he said, you know, he mixed the record, and I guess he also came up with the hook now that I hear about it.
Yeah.
But he wasn't trying to jump in and do a verse or get involved in it. He was just like very kind of hands off with it.
That's Yella, man. Yella he's very non-controversial. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. You know what I mean? And I understand that. I understand that though. Like, you know, you still got love for a person. It's like, I don't know. I understand where you're coming from though.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, but then, you know, in his book, which is something I never realized until I read the book and then we did the interview about it, Yella actually became homeless after Eazy E died. And it was interesting because we got into the whole conversation, and usually is drugs, right?
Right.
or a gambling habit.
Right.
But with him, it wasn't any of that. It was like he would get a check from Eazy and he would just ball out.
Yeah.
He would go buy a boat. He'd go buy a new house. He'd go buy a car, a brand new car. He'd buy his brother a car. He'd buy his mother something, you know, and so forth. And then at one point, you know, after Eazy passed, the checks stopped coming.
Yeah.
And he found himself literally homeless, like sleeping on women's couches and so forth. And I remember the story he said, which is so poignant. You know, he got in touch with Dre, you know, a few years later when he was just really on his outs. And Dre's like, hey man, listen, come down. Let's hang out. You know, come down to the studio. I'll play you some stuff. We'll hang out, grab some food. And he's like, all right, well, I just need to get a car. You know, I need someone to drive me down there. He goes, oh, it's like that? He goes, yeah, it is. And when he got there, he's had, by that point in his life, he had bought 40 new cars.
Okay.
And he had no car at that point. And he had kids, right? Let's talk about that. And when he met with Dre was like, look, man, what's it going to take to fix you? You know, what's the most important thing? He goes, well, I need a car. So Dre wrote him a check and he went and bought like a Nissan Cube. Okay. You know what I mean? Something real cheap.
That's good. You got a car though. Shit. That's dope, bro. Like, damn.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. And he literally said he fell on his knees and he like cried and was like, yo, man, you're my savior. Thank you so much. And then a little bit later, he's like, hey, you know, Yella wanted to get back into DJing, but he didn't have equipment. So he went to Ice Cube and was like, hey, man, can you lend me some money so I could buy some DJ equipment? And Cube was like, okay, here you go. Here's a check. I don't want it back.
That's beautiful. I like that type of shit, man. That makes me feel good, man. Like, seriously. Because, that just goes to show them dudes, that love was still there. Like, you can fall out with people, man, but, like, if you had real relationships, usually you can reconcile it. As long as nobody is dead, you know what I'm saying, or maimed or some shit, you can usually reconcile it. And it's just, that was really big of them to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I like that type of shit. I like hearing that.
Yeah, man, it was dope. And Yella ended up on the EBT cards. He ended up having his brother, had to show him how to buy stuff with EBT where you could get through the week, which type of items and everything. And this goes from having gold chains and, multiple houses and yachts and balling out to suddenly, life catches up to you. And it just goes to show, like, you got to know how to handle your money. You got to know how to budget. You got to think that, especially if you're in a certain type of business, like that money might not keep going. And listen, I remember when I first started making money in my late 20s, I went broke too. I bought a house and a Benz and, had a lady that, and I was balling out, and then it all came crashing down, and I ended up having to sleep on couches, like.
Yeah, it happens, man. Like when you young, and you come into a lot of money, and then you didn't come from money, and you didn't have nobody to show you what to do with the money when you get it, and teach you that, this money can run out if you don't make it work for you. You know what I mean? So it's understandable. I hate to hear that happened to him, though. You know what I mean? But I know I balled out too when my checks was coming. Like, boy, I did way crazier shit. But yeah, I understand, man, and I just hate that happened. But I'm glad, Cube and them came through for him like they did, man. That's really like, that make me feel good to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that mean that love was really genuine that they had. You know what I mean? Even despite them being away and separated and being in these two camps and they going at each other, it was still real love. And at the end of the day,
Yeah. And I remember he talked about how when they were getting ready to do the NWA movie, he was thinking, okay, this is about to be a real payday because obviously I'm my character is in it and everything. Right. And he said when he met up, I don't know if it was with Tamika or with one of her people, but they basically said, like, you're not going to get very much off this. You're going to get a very, And he was saying how, and what they said was like, they actually told him to his face that they don't really need him. So if he doesn't want to be part of it, it's whatever. Right. And he said the amount was so low, but he was in such dire straits money-wise.
He had to take
it. He said that if he was just a little bit better off, he would have just turned it down. But the money, and he wouldn't say how much it was. I think it was like, what almost sounds like maybe a few $1,000s. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, but essentially, he took it. And, and in the long run, life did turn around for him. I mean, the movie was so big that it created a lot of energy. That's when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah. I'm sure that was because of the movie. And, he started DJing more. He was DJing with Eazy's Hologram at one point.
Yeah, I was there. I was there when he did that, yeah.
Right. And I guess like they filmed a little Eazy. For the movements and stuff,
Yep, I was there. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah. And he got back into DJing. He became very religious. He was, I think, he became a lot more Christian. I think he was born again. And like, if you read his book, like God is like all throughout the book. So, it seemed like he found a way to center himself and kind of accept his situation and move forward as opposed to just being bitter about all the money he's splurged over the years.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really be mad about what you did. I mean, shit. You had the money, you spent it. That's kind of how that go. You know what I mean? But I know that movie did a lot for a lot of us because, all the music that was in there and all that stuff, it kind of got resold. And I just noticed from my royalty checks, they went back up. You know what I mean? As opposed to, you got to think, 27, 28 years later, music ain't going to sell like it sold the first year or the second or the third year. You know what I mean? So the checks get smaller over time. But the movie did revamp everything, and the checks, they went back up. So I'm sure that probably helped him too.